Hi, we're back. It's Tuesday. Hope everyone had a fantastic Mother's Day, Grandmother's Day, etc. I'm really excited to be back here. And this week we are going to do something different. As I was starting to say before, we have covered business and we have covered breaking barriers. We've covered nonprofits, but every once in a while, it is really important that we take care of ourselves. So this is our self-care Tuesday, so appropriate right after Mother's Day. And I have a very, very special guest here who's going to talk to us about taking care of our skin for health, as well as having that glow that we all want to have. So I'm excited to introduce you to our special guest today, Ashley Severns. If you can say hello, please.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Ashley is going to kick off and tell you, she's an esthetician, and she will tell you about her background, how she got into it, and what that is, in case you don't know. So Ashley, take it away, please.
So I started out to try and become an esthetician about 6 years ago. I was 30 when I decided that I was just gonna do it. It was either now or never. I have always loved skincare though. I love the science behind it. I'm an ingredient nerd, things like that. So it was really exciting to me to actually take that step, and it had gotten pushed back a couple different times, and then finally I just looked at my husband one day and I was like, it's now or never. So it's now, because I'm not going to continue on this little hamster wheel and things like that. But I love it. An esthetician is full body skincare, so I actually do head to toe skincare, but I specialize in results driven treatments. I've age management, essentially. So I try to stay away from the anti-age, because there's really not an anti-age, but we can manage your age, because no one has to look their age. And that's the goal,
like
I
everything
think, for everyone.
Yeah, that's all good. And now you have your own business as well, correct?
Yes, I own AS Aesthetics, which I do online and in the treatment room. I do online classes, I do online consultations, and then I custom create a treatment plan for you, or I actually custom blend products as well. So what I do is I take a base and then I combine boosters or things like that to create something specifically for your skin type.
And I know that there are different skin needs and different skin appropriate, I guess, I don't know if treatments is the right word, depending on your age. And, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like as we manage our age. I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
As we do our age management, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what are the needs? What are the progressions as we become more refined?
So in the 20s, I always suggest that you should at least have an enzyme facial of some sort, which would consist of like a massage. And I personally like to use a papaya enzyme or a pumpkin enzyme. And what those are a sugary mask-like substance that helps to just eat off the dead skin, but they're very gentle. There's no actual acid in that. Something like that, just to help keep the skin in a youthful glow and plump and things like that. And then definitely be using a cleanser, a serum, and a moisturizer. And then if they need to be using a toner, which not everyone needs a toner, that would be kind of their skincare routine morning and night then. And then once we get into the 30s, that's when you're kind of bumping it up a little bit. Like you might incorporate one little aggressive treatment in with that, either a dermaplane or microderm or chemical peel, or you can even go a little more aggressive and kind of layer some of those as well. But you would also want to start, that's kind of when we start seeing that, you see in the teens and 20s, they have that nice plumpness to the skin, and you see that fall. I mean, it just like sinks in. Mine's sunk in. It's gone. Pushing that hyaluronic acid in there kind of helps, but when you get to your 30s and you're going through that motion, you kind of want to start layering things together. And then I also have alligator skin. So at that point, that's kind of when you want to start using more of a night cream versus your day creams, kind of switching that up. And then once you move into your 40s, you're again layering probably more together. You are using more aggressive treatments, even for your home care. So maybe that pumpkin enzyme now does have some glycolic acid in it that you're using for home care as well. You are using probably a night serum and a day serum. You're using a night cream and a day cream. So you're just trying to add more into that skin to nourish it and keep that glow. And then 50s and 60s and up, you're really maintaining everything that you've been doing. So you kind of just do the same thing. And I would say for 20s and 30s, those treatments in the treatment room should be done about every 6 weeks. And then once you hit into your late 30s and on, you're looking at every 4 weeks. Now you can mix into there, if you want to be a little more aggressive, like in the wintertime, you can ask for a series of peels to really manage that age and keep that skin turning over. And in that case, you'd be doing like 1 peel a week for 6 weeks, or 1 microcurrent for 6 to 10 weeks.
Okay, what
things
was that?
like that.
Micro what? Help us out here. We're not
Microcurrent. So that is something that I actually use on myself, because I don't know how well you can see. It looks like my jawline slightly different from my left to my right. So my Erb's palsy pulls down a little bit, and you can see it in my neck also, and on this side. So I try to do microcurrent on a regular to keep this side looking like this side, because it's almost like this side's not aging and this side's aging faster because of all the pull.
But I understand what you're saying.
Well, thank you. I know we're all our own worst enemies, because everything that we see ourselves, no one else pays attention to anyways. I try to tell my clients that all the time. I'm like, they're like, well, I have a 5 times here. No. Throw that thing away. No one other than myself is going to be looking at you through a 5 times anything. And even if your husband's that close, he won't notice it. I can guarantee that. So it's like, yeah. But so microcurrent actually retrains the muscle. It's like a workout for your face and neck. You can actually use it on your décolleté too, to keep these lines from happening. It is a type of an electrical current that engages the muscle. So with the motions that we do in the treatment room, like we call it a hold. So you would like actually hold this area together. So you have 2 different probes, or you could have gloves, or you could have, there's all these different attachments that you can use. So depending on what we're trying to do, but you would like hold and then pull up, and then hold and then pull up. So then you're just lifting and toning. But there's usually 2 different sequences that you can do. One is a lift and a tighten. And then the other one's actually specifically for collagen and elastin. And in that case, you actually just put the pads on with like a gel mask or a sheet mask, and it does the work for you. I just hit the button and you just hang out. You don't even, and it's so comfortable. Most people fall asleep. So don't be scared that, you know, it is an electrical current, but you should have almost like a fluttery feeling. The muscle should not be jumping or twitching or anything.
And before I popped in with my question, what age were you starting to say that kind of kicks in?
For microcurrent, I say I start in the 40s, because it's easier to maintain something than it is to reverse something. So with a lot of my clients, or a lot of people that I know, friends of mine even, have looked at me and said, well, I don't think I'm there yet. And I always say, well, if you don't think you're there yet, you're definitely there. So it's just because, I mean, I do a dermaplane, I do the chemical peels, I do the microcurrent. I try to anyways, to stay up on those, but it's just like anything else. If you do it all day long, the last thing you want to do is yourself when you come home. So there's that part of it too.
Now you threw in there serums and toners and this and that. And it's funny, I was, talking to a couple of my friends, and I was excited that you were coming on here. And one of them has this, looks like a pharmacy. She's got all this different stuff. And the other one goes, what do you do first? I don't even know what all that stuff is. So could you take a second and share, what are, if you're just at home and you're taking care of yourself, some people will do all the activities and some people are like, I'm just going to do something in my house. So what is the order of things in a nutshell, if you wouldn't mind?
So you would actually use a cleanser.
Mhm.
And then if you are masking that day, you would use a mask, the exfoliating mask, that is. You should be exfoliating 2 to 3 times a week at any age, really. That also helps with acne too. So if you are acneic, you should be masking at least 3 times a week, even in your 20s. If you're not and you're in your 20s, you should only be doing, those ones aren't going to have the acid in it anyways at that point, but you should still be doing at least twice a week. Then after that, you would actually put on a hydrating mask of some sort, which would contain like your hyaluronic acids and your vitamins and things like that. And then you would put on a serum, and then you would put on the moisturizer, and then always sunscreen unless it's at night and you're going to bed. Always sunscreen.
Okay, great. All right. Now, you dropped a couple terms in there. I know there's a lot of marketing right now, and there's all these skincare products, and some of them are bragging about hyaluronic acid, I think, and vitamin
Yeah.
C and AHA and all this stuff. So, what is all that? What does it do, and who needs to use it? Where would you say that has value, and for what groups, I would say?
So value across the board for all age groups, for everyone. Your hyaluronic acid is really, when I said that you get that sunken, that's hyaluronic acid that you're seeing. So you see, you're getting collagen and elastin production is slowing down, the cellular turnover slowing down, and the hyaluronic acid is leaving your body. Hyaluronic acid is actually something that we naturally have in our bodies that depletes over time. And the only way to actually push it back in is physically putting it on the skin to push it back in.
Wow.
If you have a good hyaluronic acid serum, you should physically be able to close your eyes and sit still and feel that plumping happening underneath the skin. So a lot of times I don't feel it all over. I'll feel it right here by my cheeks where the eye area is, things like that, where you're starting to really get that more sunk in. You'll feel that happening. But hyaluronic acid, what it actually does is it bubble wraps a cell. This is the best way to explain it so somebody can visualize it. So picture a cell inside a bubble. Well, it holds 1,000 times its weight in water. So you're bringing more water into the skin to physically plump it, is essentially what's happening. And that hyaluronic acid goes in and it attaches itself to that cell then. So you're just pushing it physically into the skin to kind of rehydrate the skin. And then your vitamin C and your vitamin E, of course, those ones are both great for feeding cells. It's like physically giving them their vegetables for the day, if you will. So it makes them happier. It makes them want to produce more. It just makes them healthier overall. So when you're pumping that into the skin like that, it's great. But vitamin C and E is also great for hyperpigmentation. So any kind of sun damage that you're seeing. It's great for, like I said, healthy cells and things like that. It's great for counteracting free radicals. So free radicals is anything and everything. If you go outside, if you don't go outside, it doesn't matter. You have free radicals everywhere. Any kind of pollution, free radicals. Sun rays, free radicals. Sugar that you put in your body, free radicals. Everything's free radicals. So that really helps to counteract a lot of those things in the long term wise, and they really help underneath the skin. So you're not having to see that hyperpigmentation come to the skin. It attacks it underneath there where you're inside the epidermis and the dermis. And then you're looking at, oh gosh, what were the other ones? We had hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, vitamin A, AHA, BHAs.
Yeah.
Those are sugary fruits. So it's an acid that forms from sugary fruits. Mm-hmm. What they do is they actually ferment it and then take that acid off the top, essentially. That's why it has a funky smell to it. A lot of times, if you can, like I have it in the individual ingredient to put into stuff and boost stuff with it. I buy it in a blended form though, so it's not a straight acid, obviously. It is a much lighter acid than like your glycolic or your lactic or things like that. But when you combine them together, so you see it's alpha hydroxy acids and beta hydroxy acids is what you're looking at. But when you combine them and use them together, one actually protrudes into the skin farther and the other one starts at the surface, and they kind of actually meet their way in the middle to do their thing and then bypass each other. So what you're doing there is you're treating different things at different levels of the skin. But when you're doing it with the combination of both of them, it happens much faster. So they help to exfoliate the dead skin and it sloughs off a lot faster. So when you're looking at skin cells, that's why we age. Our skin cells actually start to turn over slower. So when you're looking at like a child or a teenager, they're about every 14 days.
Wow.
So so that's why they have like great skin and they don't do anything. And but then as we get older, that cell turnover starts going slower and slower. So when we're looking at like our 30s and 40s, we're looking like every 25 to 38 days ish in there. And then once you get over 50 and 60, it just gets longer and longer. So let's see, on the about 65, I think the average is like every 78 days or something.
Wow. What is
so you're really in, So the faster that we can actually make that happen and slough those skin off faster, that's why exfoliating the skin is helpful. You just don't want to be too much and you don't want to be too little. There's a happy medium there that you really need to kind of be in. And a lot of these things that you're seeing online too, I think are a little too aggressive for some people. And they don't realize that, and they could really damage their skin. If you're over aggressive with that, you can actually cause hyperpigmentation and things yourself.
Really? So how often should people be using that kind of stuff then? If you don't want to do too much, you don't want to not do it, what's that little sweet spot in the middle?
So it really depends because everybody's so different and their skin's so different and reacts differently to different things. So when somebody, like when I evaluate someone in the treatment room, I use a plain cleanser. I don't use anything that has anything in it, because when you're cleansing the skin, anytime that you're touching the skin, you can actually see if it's going to get red or irritated pretty quickly just by doing that. Okay. So if there's any redness that happens here, they're going to be overly sensitive to certain things. So it really just depends. And it could be their diet can make them overly sensitive to things, if they're exfoliating too much, if they're using, one thing that I do not like at all is, those Clarisonic brushes. People think more is more. It's not. That really actually strips the top barrier of their skin. People start using those and they're like, I don't know why my skin's so sensitive all of a sudden. Well, they're actually stripping the acid mantle off, so there's no protective barrier left. So I have to build their skin back up, and you have to do that with a lot of nutrients, a lot of those vitamins, the E, the C, things like that, to really help those cells become healthy again and create a natural barrier across the skin. So then that way you can start doing things that are a little more aggressive.
I'm really glad you shared that, because I always see all those things and I'm like, wow, that is just a higher level of maintenance than I'm willing to do. And I was like, should I be doing something like that? So that makes me feel a little better. I do like the serums and all that kind of stuff, but that whole, face equipment, I haven't graduated to that.
Yeah, no, one of the ones that I do like though, it's not a Clarisonic, but it's the My Skin Buddy. And I use one actually because, it also has the LED lights in it. So it actually she really made this in one of the reasons that I love it. It's very user friendly. You really can't hurt yourself with it at home. So it has a settings like 1 through 6, and then the lights come on during those settings, and then you can switch through and jump if you want to, or there's one setting, I think it's 6 at the very end, there's no lights at all.
Wow. Okay.
And everything's right in there. It explains what the lights are for, how to use it. It's very, very user friendly. So I recommend that to a lot of my clients
Excellent.
to help with, because your blue light is great for acneic skin. It helps to actually neutralize the bacteria and things like that. But your green light is great to treat hyperpigmentation at home. So what I do in the treatment room is about 30 to 35%. What you're doing at home is the rest of it. So if you're not meeting me more than halfway, it's going to take a really long time for your goal to get here.
Gotcha. I wish I lived in Ohio. I would come see you. You
Okay.
mentioned in passing a couple times hyperpigmentation, sunspots, etc. And there are a lot of things on the market that say that they help to reduce that or reverse that, etc. Can anything really be done about that? Does that really work? What is your take on that all that marketing that's out there about dark spots?
Hyperpigmentation, some people will say, oh, I have an age spot. Well, no, it's hyperpigmentation. It's sun damage is essentially what it is. So I have a handy dandy little thing in my room, which I tried to see if I could use it to physically show you, because I'm very freckly naturally, but you can still see the added amount of freckles, which is sun damage. Especially on the left side, because that's the driver's side and I drive a lot. So I have more sun damage on this side than this side. Yeah, anytime. I actually had a girl who came in and looked like with a scope underneath the skin to see. And I was like, oh, you have a lot of hyperpigmentation on this side. I said, do you sit in your driver's or the passenger side a lot? And she was like, no, I drive a lot. And I was like, oh, I'm not really sure then what you're doing, but I'm like, the sun is hitting you on this side of the face a lot because you have so much hyperpigmentation underneath the skin that you're not seeing yet. Well, then at her next appointment, she came in and she said, in my classroom, I sit and my face is right next to a window that comes in. And I'm like, okay, well, then that makes more sense, because a lot of times you see people they'll have like a strip of it across the forehead here from wearing like their hair back and sitting next to a pool or something like that. Yeah. And then you'll have most of the time this side of the face. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but you'll have to Google this. Okay. And it's a truck driver, and his face from the driver's side, he never wore sunscreen in his life. Wow. Is like 20 years older than his right side. And that's all he's ever done is drive a truck.
So even if windows are up or there's glass or whatever, you're still getting it, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I think a lot of people feel like if I'm not outside, I'm fine. That's not the case.
No. So every morning, as soon as you put on your moisturizer, you want to put sunscreen on, but you really do need to be wearing that and reapplying it every 2 hours. Mm. So if you're putting it on in the morning, which a lot of clients will say, well, I put it on every day. Well, do you reapply? Well, no. I said, then it's worthless to even put it on in the morning. And they're like, well, I don't get that. And I'm like, well, if you're at the pool and you have your kids swimming, do you reapply their sunscreen every couple hours? Well, of course, because they'll burn.
And there it is.
Well, you need to too. If the skin is red, if the skin is pink and does not hurt, people don't think that's a burn, but it is. It doesn't have to hurt to be a burn. Even the slightest bit of pink is considered a burn, and that's causing hyperpigmentation underneath the skin. So you're just going to, over time, see it more and more. And because I'm in central Ohio and there isn't a lot of water around here, it's all fields and farm, it's very difficult to get people to wear sunscreen, because I grew up in an area where we were surrounded by water, couldn't sit outside on your front lawn without getting burnt. So you were reapplying all the time. And yeah, it was just like second nature, which I'm so glad it was for me, because it really, sun sugar, sun damage, free radicals, those are really your top agers right there. Not getting enough
You're
sleep.
saying that there are things that actually are effective in reducing it though, like if
Yeah. So any kind of treatment that you're doing, chemical peels are really great for hyperpigmentation. Um, Microcurrent is great for hyperpigmentation. Dermaplaning. If you're dermaplaning with a chemical peel, it really is a great combination. You just want to make sure that that peel isn't too heavy because you're really opening that skin up because you've just taken off all of the dead skin that's on the face. So that peel can really penetrate underneath there. So just making sure that it's not too aggressive, essentially. But if you're doing like a series of peels, I always say to start out with a dermaplane and then start the series of peels, because then you really have that a better chance of having a better result in the end.
And then
But
are there products that if someone's not going to a salon or,
yeah, so
whether
you
it's
can,
COVID or where they live, there are certain people who can't get out right now.
yeah,
What are the options for them at home?
you really want to pump some vitamin C into your skin, vitamin E as well, and into your diet also. So there's so much stuff that we can push into the skin, but some of it doesn't, only so much of it will penetrate to a level that you want. So if you're internally eating these things, you have a better chance of actually having a reaction to it faster. And the combination of doing both just means that it'll happen faster for you. So, your dark leafy greens, things like that. And that's great for hydration too, because a lot of doctors tend to tell you, drink your water, drink your water, drink your water. Well, if you actually eat your water, you retain more of that water because you process it differently in the stomach. So you're not just essentially going to the bathroom 500 times a day. You get to hold on to that. The skin looks better because you're also getting all those vitamins on top of all that water too. So your spinach, arugula, spring mix, things like that, try to incorporate those at least once a day, which I know is difficult for some people, but those are the best ways to get those vitamins and those nutrients, and making sure that they're uncooked so you're eating them fresh is a really, really great way to get those.
Excellent. And one of the things I know that you are particularly brilliant at is what you call facial mapping. Can you share with everybody what facial mapping is? I thought this was so fascinating.
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, you can kind of see I have some right here, some hormonal acne that just happened to pop up this week, of course, right before we're doing this. So anything that you're looking at kind of on the jawline and what I call the Manchu area for women right here. And a lot of times you'll see that, especially it's either one or the other. Either your skin's really clear when you're pregnant or it's really broke out when you're pregnant. And you'll notice it'll be specifically, you could draw a circle right here. Wow. And it would be here. And then the ones that you kind of get along that jawline, they're really hard underneath the skin. You can feel them. They're kind of sore before you even see them. That's all hormonal. Anything on the apple of the cheek here is usually dairy or something along those lines. Across the top of the forehead right here, you'll see a lot of teens have this right here. A lot of that is sugar. It's those really tiny little pustulates that you see all over the forehead. They're just tiny, but there's like thousands of them. That's usually there's too much sugar in their diet and they're not hydrated enough. One of the things that you see a lot is with teenage boys specifically, their skin will be broke out all over. And they're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm doing all the things, blah, blah, blah. And I'll ask them, are you playing sports? Yes. Does your coach have you on a whey protein shake? And almost always is the answer yes. Okay, do a protein shake, but don't do the whey, and their skin will clear up within about a month.
Really?
Yeah. So whey is a huge acne causer for any age group, but it tends to be mostly that you see it in boys because they're just chugging it all the time because they're playing football or the wrestling. Those are the ones that I really see with the issues the most, and it clears up pretty fast. A lot of times too with kids, You can tell which side of the face they sleep on, because their blackheads are specific areas because they're not washing their hair or taking a shower before bed. And then their pillowcase, they're not changing it enough. And they're so oily at that time. Their oil production is so high. So you really want to make sure that as a mom or dad or whatever, you're just reminding them, or just pull them off yourself. I can remind them. I remind them like once a week, but I just most of the time do it myself because it's easier. Pull them off, throw them in, put new ones on. And I don't even have to change the sheets a lot of times because he's not getting like the back knee and stuff yet. So we'll see if that happens. But oh, his pillowcase is so gross. So fun fact about pillowcase, which will gross.
You're in our world here, you know.
Yeah, exactly. 2 boys. A fun fact about a pillowcase is, if you do not change it through the week, it has more germs by the end of the week than an unclean toilet for a week.
Ew.
So our hair holds on to everything. So if you're not washing your hair, your body heats up when you sleep, and the pores open up if your body's heated up. So all the bacteria on your pillowcase is now crawling into those open pores. And then as soon as we wake up and sit up, what happens? Our pores close up because it's usually a cold environment. And now all that bacteria is festering underneath the skin.
That is so informative and disgusting. I'm really glad you
said that. Yes.
No, but that's great.
And it just lights me up because I love that stuff.
Well, it's amazing what you said, because obviously there are things that a lot of teens are going through. A lot of us are parents, and we see things with our kids. And I mean, I can see my son eats pretty clean, but if he goes off, like summer camp, they feed him really poorly compared to what he eats at home, and he always has more issues than, you can see all that. So that's wild about the way, it's funny. I have someone that I know who is, a bodybuilder and a trainer, and he went vegan and had really bad skin, and his skin cleared up. And I bet you he switched from the whey protein, because he definitely was cranking protein shakes all day.
Oh yeah. And especially with boys, once you get with that protein shake like that and you're doing it a lot, they will start to get that back knee and things like that too. So then I've done a couple back facials on a couple of those boys just to get it cleaned up. If you can do an initial kind of deep pour, if your kids are getting that bad, that really helps clean it up and out of the skin. And then that way you don't have so much of it purging, because then your body, once you stop doing that, your body wants to purge it. Well, it purges through the skin. So a lot of times, just like when we were talking about facial mapping, depending on where it's coming up helps, because your body wants to get rid of certain toxins, or they see it as a toxin. So they'll purge it through the skin to get rid of it. So that's why when we talk about the facial mapping, it's directly usually related to something. And there's much more. I mean, I could go on and on forever about that, because like kidneys, intestines, things like that you're specifically looking at on the face. But it just depends. And you really, if you're wanting someone to look at that, it's best to really have a consultation with someone one-on-one to see what might be triggering it, or things like that. And a lot of times I have parents that say, well, I, heard from someone else that you really helped them, and I really don't want them on any kind of prescription pill at this age to try, I don't want to take them to the dermatologist because I don't want them on like Accutane and stuff like that. And I totally understand that. And usually we can fix it by just tweaking a couple things in their everyday life.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned consultations, and that brings me to you, because we do have people from all over the place on here. And like I said, some people are in places where there's all kinds of COVID restrictions still. Some people just, they're juggling a career, kids, this, that, they got a lot going on, and they may not get to go someplace. But my understanding is that you actually do Zoom consultations for people. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yes, I do Zoom consultations for people, and we kind of sit down and just talk about what their expectations are, what they would like out of the goal, I can give them some examples of things if they are not really sure what they want, things like that. And we just kind of go over everything. I get a normal intake form for that I'll send, or sometimes I'll keep it and go over it. And then I just have them do like an electronic signature, because I need to know, if anybody has any allergies, things like that and whatnot. Just your normal health background and things. And then we go over what is the best treatment protocols to move forward. And I've even helped some people if they don't know where to go, because I know certain places are open, some places are open. So if someone's in a specific area, that I can help try and find them an esthetician that I know, because I am in a national aesthetics group as well, to try and find somebody who I know kind of thinks about the outcome of the person the same way I do, to try and help. So then that way we're kind of on the same page in a way. So then I'm not saying, because some people, it just like anything else, I could say, well, I think this would be best. And then they go, and I don't want them to be like, well, this lady told me online that this would be best. And now you're saying that this is best, but I am seeing you online. So sometimes when you are in person with somebody else, it could be different, or they could see something that I'm not seeing because I can't touch. So, things like that. But yes, I do consultations and I do classes if you just want to take a class instead. I do like an everyday skincare routine. I do an acne class where I just go through a whole list of things that you might not think about, or that you should be doing on a regular basis that you might not be doing in your regular routine. Things like that with the acne class. I do a gua sha class where I teach you the movements, and I even send you the jade stones and stuff like that. And then we get on a class together and I work through the movements with you to physically show you how to do that. I actually do that in 2 different settings. I do it as a group, and then I do it one-on-one as well. So if you want more of a specified routine with the gua sha for you, then that would kind of be the best way to do it. But if you're just kind of wanting to do the lift and tone kind of a thing, then the group class is fine.
And you also have, people can purchase stuff through you. So if they're like, oh, I want to get a serum, I want to get a moisturizer, you have all that good stuff too, if they want to connect with you, correct?
Yes. So on the actual page where you can purchase things, all it says on there is cleanser, serum, moisturizer, and toner, because I do custom blend for people. So there's nothing that you can really pick from. So I always suggest doing a consultation for that as well. So then that way I can kind of, I need to know what your environment is as well, because you might need more antioxidants. Like if your job is outside all day long, you're going to want more things antioxidant wise and vitamin wise to kind of help counteract those free radicals. And then if you're indoors all the time, you can have something maybe a little more aggressive, things like that. Okay. So if I need to really know specific things about your lifestyle and stuff to really help with what we put in there, what we boost with, whether it's, I always put hyaluronic acid in just about everything. But then I started using PHA, which a lot of people that will probably be a new buzzword that you start hearing all the time. It's like an AHA, BHA. It does a lot of the same things. It is similar to a retinol. So your vitamin A as well, which retinol and vitamin A are the same thing. Okay. So clear that up because a lot of people think that those are 2 different things. But the PHA is similar to both of those, but it doesn't cause you any sensitivity to the sun. Oh. So it's like this huge new thing. I've been kind of watching it from the lab for about a year before I finally purchased some of my own to try, just to see what the studies say on it. I don't usually jump on the bandwagon with things. I wait it out and see what all the studies say and stuff before I start using it myself. And then after I start using it, then I give it to my clients to use because I don't want to hurt them. If I screw my own skin up, I can fix that later, but if I
You're
screw your
your own
skin up, that's a
guinea pig
problem.
first. That I'm sure everybody appreciates that though. That's great that you try it out first.
Yeah. So PHA I love, and you'll probably be seeing more and more of that all the time. And they'll be marketing the crap out of that because it really is great, because some of those things like retinol, a lot of people don't realize that actually thins the skin too. And then it makes you super sensitive to the sun. So if you're trying to use that on a regular basis, and then you're also being in the sun, you're actually not counteracting yourself and you're causing more problems than what it's worth. So
Well,
the PHA is great for that.
I was going to say, you heard it here first from Ashley.
Yeah.
Severns, you know? So if somebody wants to connect with you, let's do two things before we wrap up. Obviously, one, you're, in this Facebook group, so they can connect with you on there, ask you questions, or if they want to do a consultation. I know that they're really inexpensive, so that's a really cool thing, I think, to do.
Yeah. I
It
can
also
even
gives you a
put,
website too, right?
yeah. So after we are off here, I'll just go in and I can put clickable links in there for people. I'll just put like classes and then put the link, and then I'll put like consultation link, and then my website link. And on my website too, if you have any other questions, there's actually a questions one, and it's pages and pages and pages worth of different things that if we didn't touch on today, you could even look on there. It breaks down treatments on there, exactly what they are and what they do as well. So you can search on there too and find all that information on there also.
Excellent. Well, I really, really, really appreciate your knowledge, your expertise, your humor about all this. I like that too. And, thanks
Thanks.
for teaching us so much. It's really awesome. And I'm really thrilled to have you here. And I know first thing I'm going to do is go change all the pillowcases in my house because I'm completely grossed out right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley.
Then I did my job.
Yeah. So Ashley is in the group. You can reach out to her, connect with her, post questions in here, post comments on here. She'll be, checking back in. But thank you again. Really, really great to have you on here. And this is a great take care of yourself. Just a quick little journey to take care of yourself, because sometimes we're so busy conquering the world and saving everyone else, we forget about ourselves. So Ashley, thank you for doing all that. Okay, everybody.
Thank you for having me.